having spent decades working on the question of the status of women and the right to abortion, which almost nobody ever says, that all three of our speakers, having just met two of them and knowing the third, Orpheus, really have been on the front lines over the question of, do women have the right to control their own bodies? And that's not at all disconnected, as you just said, quite clearly. And not surprisingly, this is a big issue for World Can't Wait as well. We've just been supporting the abortion rights freedom ride down in Texas over this very question of, is the government, federal and local and the states, going to be able to wipe out not just access to abortion, but to birth control? And if we can't have more than half of humanity in a position of being able to determine our own lives, then how the hell are we going to stop what's going on? So thank you for that. I want to introduce Orpheus Reed as our third speaker, someone who writes from a revolutionary communist standpoint and has done very interesting articles in response to looking at what does it mean that capitalism is the system in place, and has a lot of thinking he will share about how to respond to that and what to do about it. So please welcome Orpheus Reed. I was going to say from the website revcom.us.
Revcom.us, yeah. So I'm really happy to be here, and along with this really meaningful and substantive presentations that we've heard, and I want to thank everybody, especially who can't wait for putting this on. I mean, this is, what we're facing this weekend is really an unprecedented opportunity, I think, to stand up and fight to save the planet together. And it's also a really important time for having this dialogue and also debate over what's the source of this crisis and, what's the solution to this intensifying catastrophe that we're facing. I mean, we've seen decades of these UN summits, right? And the climate crisis only continues to escalate. Greenhouse gases are accelerating now to the highest level in human history, and that's picking up speed. And these capitalist, imperialist countries that are running the world, that dominate the economics and the politics of the globe, have done nothing of meaning to address this emergency. Instead, they talk about change, right? They wring their hands about the danger. They promise that now, finally, they're going to get serious about a real climate treaty, while they've done nothing of substance to stop this. And instead, they're actually stepping up their whole mad dash to get more fossil fuels in even more destructive ways. And the other damaging practices that are fueling climate change are also continuing. But this is really a moment, this weekend and the events coming up, this is really a moment for us to stand up together and begin to wrench the planet off the destructive path that they have put it on. And I think people are coming to these events with an enormous sense of urgency and taking responsibility for the future of the planet. And people really sense that if this emergency is going to be addressed, it's up to us. And this is right. This is correct. The Revolutionary Communist Party that I work with has joined with these efforts to make this outpouring as powerful as possible. And we're building, and we invite you here to join the contingent. Capitalism is destroying the planet. We need revolution, nothing less, for this march. So March organizers have said this is an invitation to change everything. This is a really good thing. We need to change everything, literally. But what will it take to change everything? This is what we got to talk about. Can that happen under this system with its economics, its politics, and its priorities? No, it cannot. Because this system of capitalism is actually the barrier to where we need to go. To change everything, we need revolution, nothing less. But why? I'm going to talk about this some. What has brought us to this precipice? Is revolution realistic? Yes. Are we waiting for revolution? No. And we'll get into this a bit. But I want to start by looking at some snapshots of the environmental emergency, just to, really let's look at the stakes of this. Indonesia, let's start there. This is a world of tropical rainforests that's so rich in biological diversity. It has 200 unique orchid species, immense varieties of birds, the last remaining orangutans on this planet, and almost extinct species of rhinoceros. Within 20 years, it's predicted these rainforests are going to be gone. Why? Because US and European banks and their institutions, their financial institutions, the IMF, etc., are financing the destruction of these rainforests for what? To grow palm oil for the international market. So rich and unique life is being wiped out, and global warming fueled. The US government and military are at the heart of what has fueled this destruction in Indonesia. They backed a military coup in 1965, and they propped up these rulers to enforce US strategic interests, drowning the people in Indonesia in blood and wiping out nature for profit. Let's go next to the Philippines. Typhoon Haiyan hits it with the highest wind speeds recorded in human history. More than 10,000 people killed. Literally whole villages swallowed up by the ocean. And in New York City, people were blasted by Hurricane Sandy. Dramatic, even cataclysmic changes are coming now in a torrent. Right now we're facing the unpreventable collapse of the West Antarctic ice sheets. And now we've just heard, according to the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, there's the possible approach of a tipping point, making the melting of the Greenland ice sheet unstoppable. Together, this could raise sea levels 30 feet. Climate change over a period of centuries, we can talk about this more, but climate change is impacting every region of the globe, and we're on a trajectory toward catastrophe. In a world that's dominated by imperialist relations, domination of the poor and oppressed people by capitalism, climate change is going to lead to spreading war, conflict, mass displacements of whole populations. The poorest people on this planet who have done the least to cause this will be the ones that suffer and die disproportionately. This is criminal. This is outrageous. Now, many scientists say also that the temperature rise predicted in the next century may well be incompatible with human civilization. This is not me speaking. This is scientists who are beginning to say this. Incompatible with the continued existence of human civilization on the course that we're currently on. And climate change is also interacting with other environmental destruction, threatening a mass extinction of species. To deal with this, to really deal with this, we need the most scientific understanding. This tells us that we're facing a disaster in the making, and we don't have much time to change course. We're talking about the future of our species on this planet, which I agree is part of nature. And we're also talking about the continued existence of this whole rich and wondrous natural ecosystems of the whole planet that we love and that we cherish. And if we don't hurry up and protect and preserve these ecosystems, which we rely on to live, we will quite likely witness before long the qualitative unraveling of the natural world as it is on our planet. So with this scientific understanding of the depth of this crisis, we also need the most scientific understanding of why governments and countries are not addressing this insane trajectory in the ways that are needed to actually stop it and to reverse it. We confront a global system of capitalism and imperialism. This system rules the earth. It controls billions of peoples, and it cannot and it will not meet the needs of humanity. It cannot and it will not stop waging wars and occupations, as we're seeing heart-wrenchingly again in Iraq, where they're dropping bombs and drones on people again. In Gaza, where they're backing what Israel is doing, genocide against the Palestinian people. It cannot and it will not stop murdering our youth, from Ferguson, Missouri to New York City. And it cannot and it will not end the oppression of women. It will also not end the oppression and the degradation and the genocide against indigenous people on this planet. Nor can this system safeguard the rich diversity of life on the planet. All of these outrages I'm talking about have the same source and the same root in this system. The problem is bigger than big oil. It's bigger than the corporations. This system is a whole profit-based system that treats people as objects of exploitation, and the natural world is simply something to be grabbed and to pour into production for profit. And there's certain rules of the game that drive this system. Profit determines what gets produced and how. There's intense competition and rivalry among corporations and whole countries for control over resources, markets, and regions. And this proceeds through conflict, war, the exploitation of entire peoples and countries in the global south. Capitalism cannot be made to act according to different rules than those that make it what it is and that characterize the way the whole thing functions, even if this causes an environmental catastrophe. Fossil fuels are not a rogue industry. They're foundational to the profitable functioning of this system. 7 of 10 of the world's largest corporations are oil companies or car companies. Fossil fuels are also foundational to capitalism's strategic requirements. Think about the US military, which is the largest institutional consumer of oil on the planet. And also, these control over these fossil fuel sources are used as leverage over the whole world economy. The problem is not that this political system is too controlled by the corporations as people see it. This political system is the ruling force of a vicious system backed by organized violence of the military, the police, the courts, and the prisons. To capital, the destruction of Earth's atmosphere, the seas and rivers, the magnificent species on this planet are of no consequence to them in their drive to beat out their rivals at the global level. This system is completely and utterly incapable of being a fit caretaker of this planet. So this system has brought us to the brink. Only the most radical revolution in human history can cope with the environmental crisis on the scale and with the urgency required. We must save the planet. We must protect our future. We must emancipate humanity from war, from poverty, from mass incarceration, vicious police murder, and the oppression of women. Now, Bob Avakian, who's the leader of the Revolutionary Communist Party, has developed a strategy for revolution, a vision and a framework for a radically new state power and a whole new society. Communist revolution, despite what you're told every day, is about emancipating all of humanity. It's about digging up the roots of oppression and exploitation and creating a world where human beings can truly flourish. It's about enabling humanity to become the caretakers of the planet. The Constitution of the New Socialist Republic in North America, which I have here, makes as one of the fundamental principles that are governing the new society, protecting, preserving, and enhancing the ecosystems and biodiversity of the planet for current and future generations. This is foundational to this society, to the society we're talking about, not the one today. We're looking at the scope and the speed of this environmental emergency scientifically, soberly. This is an accelerating crisis that has a building momentum. In a new socialist society, profit will no longer rule. Resources can be applied to the environmental emergency. But this is going to be an intense, high-wire struggle to deal with this environmental destruction. This system has already brought and is already guaranteed. This is not magic. This is going to be a tough, daunting struggle that we're going to have to face after revolution all the way through. But revolution and a socialist society that's moving toward getting rid of all oppression is our only chance. It's our only chance of achieving a truly sustainable and liberatory society and beginning the process of being able to restore and allow the planet's ecosystems to come back. This new synthesis of communism that B.A. Bob Avakian has developed can enable the people in this new society to be mobilized. We can actually do all the things that people know how to do. All this, the things that scientists and so many people know how to do can be unleashed for the first time to address this emergency. We have developed key principles of socialist sustainable development that provide a way to move to save the planet. And that's in our special issue on the environmental emergency, which I have copies of and is also available at revcom.us. These principles, in short, would put the preservation of ecosystems of the entire planet above the new society's own development. It would share scientific expertise to tackle environmental problems worldwide, move decisively away from fossil fuels towards developing ecologically sound technology for real, develop sustainable cities that are full of life and culture, move away from consumerism, and put an end to an economy that's based on the exploitation of the world's people and the reckless destruction of this planet. This society and economy will be promoting the advance of revolution throughout the world because, let's face it, this is a global question. And this question of solving the environmental emergency can only take place globally. But imagine that. Imagine a society where the land, the atmospheres, the oceans, and the rivers, and the wild species are actually cherished. That's how people looked at it. Where human beings are emancipated and taught to protect and learn from all that nature has to teach. This is the kind of world we need. I want to very briefly clarify by revolution. We mean when the conditions have been brought into being in the future, when millions of people are ready to put it on the line for revolution, when there's much more of a crisis in government and in the system, that would be the time to move to make an actual revolution and hold nothing back to meet and defeat the enemy forces, to dismantle this system, to build a new economy and new political institutions, a socialist society that's transitioning to communism, a world no longer divided into classes. Now, people often raise to us, the situation is too dire to wait for some future revolution. Yes, the situation is urgent, it's critical. We cannot wait, but we're not waiting. Here's the question. Should we deal with this emergency by hoping to pressure capitalism to come to its senses, or by building a fight to put an end to a system that has brought us to this precipice? Do we want to gear our fight to reform a system that is, at its very root is compelled to destroy nature and people? Or should our fight to stop this environmental destruction be linked to building a movement to do away with the source of this? This is really the question. We're standing up and fighting back now. This party that I'm part of was in Ferguson, standing with the people against the attacks from the police. We were part of this abortion freedom ride in Texas. We're part of building an upcoming October month of mass resistance to stop mass incarceration of Black and Latino people, which is a slow genocide that this system is on. We're building a movement for this revolution. The struggle to stop the destruction of our planet needs to go to a whole new level. Stopping fracking, stopping all the fossil fuel extraction and transport, leaving coal, oil, and gas in the ground. This battle has to be waged. And to those fighting to save the planet, we say this: be true to your convictions, whatever the pressures and difficulties. Don't lower your sights when you come up against the magnitude of what we're facing, or when the people running this system display their enormous power and their ruthlessness. This is a basic dividing line at a time when the future of the whole planet is at stake. And this revolution will be there with you, standing side by side in the midst of these important battles, bringing out our full revolutionary perspective. And to those searching for alternatives to this madness, I encourage people to check into this revolution. Check out revcom.us. Read the special issue that I talked about. Find out about this new synthesis of communism that Bob Avakian has developed. And most important, there's really a very special opportunity to come to a historic dialogue on November 15th between Cornel West, revolutionary Christian, Bob Avakian, revolutionary communist leader of the RCP. That's November 15th at Riverside Church. The title of this dialogue is Revolution and Religion, the Fight for Emancipation and the Role of Religion. And this event can be something that can really change the whole political terrain, really open up the possibilities and forces to fight for a world of emancipation, for people to come together to do that, because we need to. We bring a passion to save the earth and to emancipate humanity into this movement. If you're deeply concerned about the future of our planet, if you sense that a radical solution is required to deal with the immensity of this crisis, get connected with the contingent we're building. The capitalism is destroying the planet. We need revolution, nothing less contingent. If you want to struggle for a world where humanity can thrive, free from all exploitation and oppression, where human society can be a caretaker of the planet, join with this contingent that's going to radiate with spirit, power, and internationalism, that the whole world comes first, that there is a way out. So join us tomorrow, 10 a.m., 77th and Central Park West. I hope to see you. Let's get a whole process going, and opening up all kinds of dialogue, debate, learning from each other mobilizing millions and not stop until we truly change the course of everything. Thanks.